Zhu is our first true limited unit. She's a very powerful DPS that can consistently dash us out insane damage as long as she has her Lickers. With Licker, her rank 1 skill can hit as hard as other characters' rank 2 skills, and her ultimate can send out a horse that will penetrate the enemy, ignoring any reality defense they have. Today, we're going to do a deep dive on Zhu's kit, especially with the Licker mechanic, as it is integrated into every single part of her kit. Zhu's skill 1 is very simple. She will first deal 160% damage to the target enemy before consuming Licker stacks to deal an additional 60% damage per stack consumed. The chance of consuming different stack of Licker is 20%, 40%, 40%, averaging to around 2.2 Lickers per cast. The damage potential for this skill is much higher than any other skill we have at rank 1. Now, there are also a few downsides here. The return on investment for ranking up the skill is very low as it does not actually affect the full up portion of the damage. And if you do not have Licker, its damage is very subpar to say the least. Zhu's skill 2 is the first channeling skill we have. Upon using it, she gains Licker stack based on the skill's rank and also accumulates cheer stacks, which increase the amount of Licker Zhu consumed by 1. She will then enter into Drunk. Zhu cannot act after becoming drunk, and the effect of drunk will last until after enemy finish their attacks. If she's hit by the ultimate during the enemy turn, the effect of drunk will end immediately. Otherwise, she will then cast a skill 1 of the same rank before the next turn. Do note this skill will target the enemy with the lowest HP percentage instead of the target you selected. Both of her skill will trigger follow-up related passives, such as giving 37 her Eureka, and her skill 2 actually count as 2 follow-up attack as it also includes the initial hit. Her ultimate, while it's an AoE, will deal more damage if there are less enemy, from 300% on 3 and more targets to 550% on 1 target. This ultimate also interacts with her Licker stacks. If she has at least 6 stacks of Licker, she will consume the 6 Licker to gain 100% penetration on her ultimate, completely ignoring the enemy's defense stats. If she doesn't have at least 6 stacks of Licker, she will instead gain 6 stacks of Licker and also 2 cheers after casting the ultimate. Personally, this doesn't really matter that much, as the 6 bonus Licker with the cheer can be just as useful since they cover to quite a bit of damage in her skills. But if you can get Licker reliably, the penetration will provide a good amount of damage boost to her ultimate. With that being said, let's look at Licker as a whole, and how this will affect the way you play her. We already know that she can gain Licker stack from her channel, skill, and ultimate, but what are other ways you can gain Lickers? Well, when she enters combat, she will start with 3 Lickers, and at the end of each round, she will gain 1 Licker for each 4 unique buff the team has, for up to 3 Licker per turn. Now, there are a few things you need to know about how this passive works. First off, the buff here only includes stats that marked as status up, positive status, counter, shield, and channel. So the yellow one that are usually tagged as special will not be counted toward this buff. This will also only count unique buff. So let's say you are using Soneto's buff skill, which give everyone 2 buffs and herself 3 since she also have penetration. This will only count as 3 buffs as a whole toward Zhu. Good thing is, Zhu herself helped with this in 2 ways. Her skill 2 gave her cheer and drunk, which both count toward the buff. And her insight also gives her 1 buff for her collection of buff each turn, lasting 2 turns, which led her to have another 2 buff at a time. For better Licker generation, 6 is pretty much a must-have as a support currently. While both of them have a collection of buffs, the buff in them are actually not the same. There is only 1 buff that actually overlaps, so between the 2 collection of buff here, there are actually 9 unique buff in total. With even just decent RNG, Jill will be able to guarantee at least 2 Licker passively every turn, which depends on how many cards you are actually throwing out from her, can basically convert to 120% damage per turn. If you don't have 6, and you are having trouble with her Licker during rotations to the point where you run out of Licker for skill 1, don't worry. You can still generate more Licker by ranking up her channel skill. In fact, I often fuse her rank 2 skill when I see the opportunity to. As for her ultimate's penetration, the truth is, you don't have to force it. Sure, completely ignoring enemy defense is nice, especially against enemy with high reality defense. But you're also not really missing much out of it when you get the 6 Licker and 2 cheer instead when blowing 6 stacks, giving you more damage from your base skills in the rotation. For general gameplay, you pretty much just want to spam her rank 1 skills and use her ultimate whenever possible. If you feel like you're running out of liquor for her skill 1, which could significantly affect your overall damage, you can consider fusing her skill 2 sometimes to get more liquor out of it while also generating additional moxie. If you won't be using 2 skills from Jill, you should always prioritize the channeling skill as it provides 1 additional follow-up from the cheer plus 3 liquors per rank. Just remember though, enemy ultimate will cancel the skill. For her resonance, the crit set will be the most optimal, and for Psycube, you should only be using her signature Psycube. It provides both critical rate and critical damage, plus if you can pull for her, you can get a Psycube from the shop. Many people have asked about where they should spend Gluttony. Well, I often say this to give to your strongest DPS. This is definitely one of them. For Portrait, Jill at P0 is already stronger than most units at P2. Her P1 gives her higher damage on ultimate, and her P2 gives her higher damage on follow-up attacks. Both Portrait provides good value, but her P2 gives her much bigger improvement. Her P3 is a special one depending on how you look at it. It changes the amount of buff Jill gives herself per turn from 1 to 2, which allow her to have all 4 of her collection of buff active at all time instead of just having 2. This directly helps her with generating more liquors and make her slightly less reliant on 6 for having more buff active. Her P4 theoretically increases her damage by quite a bit as it adds more follow-up hits, increasing the average follow-up hits from 2.2 to 3.15. But it will be very difficult to actually realize the potential of this portrait as you are going to run out of liquor constantly with it. Her P5 solves this issue. Outside of directly boosting her power by increasing the number of her buffs, it also reduces the required buff for each liquor generation from 4 to 3 and increased the cap of liquor generation from 3 to 5. With this portrait, you will never have to worry about liquor again, as long as you have the proper team that can provide her with the buff she needs. And finally, for the teams, there are quite a few meta options. To start with, we have the national team here, with Jill, 37-6, and Tooth Fairy. In this team, everyone have a good amount of buffs that will help Jill generate more liquors, and Jill will also quickly generate Eureka for 37, adding bonus AoE Genesis damage in your rotations. With that being said, there are other options you can use instead of 37. Hornbloom, and in the near future, Gatian and the Sode can take over the slot to focus more on Jill's damage. For people who's interested in maxing their damaging rate, Necrology is still a very good option with her 50% damage bonus and P5. And lastly, because neither Jill nor Six have damage bonus in their kit, Anali and Soneto are also both very great support here. Also, they can provide quite a few unique buff counts toward Jill. And if you're playing in 3 on-field fights, 6 takes priority over anyone else as without 6, it will be difficult to maintain her liquors. And that's pretty much everything you need to know about Junliangzi. I wish you the best luck on her banner. This has been SteamBunX. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.